Yes guys, how's it going? Welcome back to a new video. I hope you guys are all enjoying your Monday, the start of a new week, and it's been a quick turnaround for Newcastle United as we played on Saturday and drew 0-0 against Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park. I was down there, we did alright, we had the majority of the ball, the majority of shots. There's a lot of positives to take. Nick Pope's on his 12th hours of clean sheets, 15 games unbeaten in the Premier League. But like Eddie Howe said in his press conference earlier on today, to some degree, it felt like a little bit of a loss because I felt like we could have done better and we should have done better. But we take the point against a very decent side, and as I say, a quick turnaround because we are back in action tomorrow night against Southampton down at the St Mary's Stadium. The first of two legs in this Carabao Cup Semi-Final. We'll talk about Southampton, what we can expect to see from them. We'll talk about Newcastle, what we hope to see from us that maybe we didn't see against Crystal Palace at the weekend. As I say, Eddie Howe has done his press conference. He's spoken about the game and he's also spoken about transfers and the January transfer window, so we will talk a little bit on that. I imagine there will be a lot of talk on that over this next week. It is reported that Newcastle may well have lost out on a couple of targets, but could be lining up a bid very soon for somebody else. So we'll get onto that in a moment. Let's start off with Southampton. They are currently bottom of the Premier League. They have not had a great season. A big kind of criticism of Southampton over the years is they bring in these talented players and then normally sell them on. And look, as a model of financial business, it's clever. It's keeping the club alive. It means they've always got money to spend, but you just felt like, was this the season when they've done it too much and then haven't reinvested? And as I say, Premier League wise, it's looking that way. However, they are in the semi-final of the League Cup as well. They've been winning their games in this competition, and they did beat Man City in the quarter-final. Yes, Man City did play a slightly weakened side, but still, I think a lot of money would have been on Man City over Southampton, so they've done themselves proud there. And then they did win against Everton in the Premier League a couple of games back. I think they lost their game at the weekend. But generally speaking, a good win against Man City, a good win against Everton. They're at home for this first leg, and they are going to be going for it. I think the player to look out for will be James Ward-Prowse. Special attention for Newcastle to not give free kicks away right on the edge of the box, because we talk about us having someone like Trippier who can really whip that ball. Yeah, Ward-Prowse is pretty much, if not one of the best free kick takers right now. I was going to say in the Premier League, but could I say all over the world? Maybe. He's very, very good, and we shouldn't give them free kicks around that zone. And that's the thing with Newcastle. We're hoping to, try and get a few goals in this one. Really, for Newcastle, a good result would probably be don't lose. If we can go down there and take home, a 0-0, bring it back to St James's, get that atmosphere going that we saw in the quarter-final against Leicester, and take it home. And look, Southampton are not a team to mess with. They are a good side. They're in the semis for a reason. But I feel like over two legs, or I'm hoping over two legs, Newcastle will have the better of it. And it will be interesting to see how Newcastle approach this game. I will come on to Eddie Howe's comments in a moment in terms of availability, and I will come on to lineups as well. But generally speaking, we want to keep it tight at the back that we have done all this season and try and be as direct as possible going forward. Really push them in that final third. And as I mentioned about the Crystal Palace game earlier on, I thought we played well, we created chances. It was just that little cutting edge. And that will bring us on to Eddie Howe's comments about players like Isak and Maxi. And Joe Linton has been playing on that left-hand side for a little while now, and he has been very good. Joe Linton is a quality player, but you put him back into the middle midfield, and he's just as good, if not better, playing in that position. It was fantastic to see the likes of Bruno play against Crystal Palace as well, because he adds so much to this side. But when Wilson is a little bit quiet, and when Miggy, who started this season so well, has scored all the goals, has a little bit of a quiet spell, you need to be giving somebody else maybe a chance. And like Maxi and Isak coming on, and maybe could we see them feature more heavily in the game tomorrow night? We will have to wait and see. And Eddie Howe was asked about Isak, and he did say that he's been in training, playing with the team, but because the fixture list has been so heavy of games, he hasn't had as much time with the team in training. Obviously, if we're playing Saturday, Tuesday, you're going to have to give players a rest in the middle. You won't be training as intensely. And Eddie Howe kind of alluded to the fact that because we haven't been in training as much, he hasn't been able to get Isak in and practice on the formations and the setups and everything, because the guys aren't in training. They're all at home with their feet up, resting before the next game. He said he has tried to slowly introduce Isak into the games, which we have seen, and when he has come on, he's looked very good. And maybe it's the same with Maxi as well. I feel like Eddie Howe likes to play the team that he can trust and he knows will do a good job. Now, there could be players who could do better, but why take the risk when this team is already working? And it's the old saying, you don't change a winning side. And generally speaking, although we did draw, we've got the last minute winner against Fulham, it's worked all season. So does he want to change it? And that's kind of the question of, do we try and move things around when it's been working, but we haven't maybe been as fruitful in attack as maybe we had been earlier on in the season? Eddie Howe was asked on transfers. He said they are working very hard behind the scenes, but have no positive news to give just yet. It's Eddie Howe. He could have 2 players lined up at the door in the back, and he still wouldn't have said it in the interview. But I do believe him. I think that Dan Ashworth and Eddie Howe and the staff will be working hard on these transfers, but it doesn't sound like we're quite there getting anything over the line. Eddie Howe was asked what he hoped to bring in this window, and jokingly said, well, he'd like to bring a football player in. So he's got a bit of humour to it. He is laughing, he is smiling. And he also said that his job is to concentrate on the players that we currently have and the fixtures that we've got coming up. I would not be surprised, especially considering we have no game this weekend. It goes Southampton Tuesday and then Southampton Tuesday. This weekend is the FA Cup weekend, so once the Southampton game's out the way, we have, pretty much a 5-day streak to try and get some of these deals over the line. Now, The Athletic are reporting that Newcastle have lost out on 2 players, one of which is Fresneda. You might remember him, the young right-back from over in Spain. It's reported that Arsenal, Barcelona and a few teams are interested. It's being reported that Newcastle may well have lost out there and may set their sights somewhere else. One player that's being linked is Harrison Ashby again from West Ham. We were linked with him in the summer. The young right-back. It seems that Newcastle are basically in the market for a young right-back to stand in behind Trippier. Where does that leave Crafty or even Manquillo? I don't know, but it's more than one young, talented right-back we've been linked with this window. And the other player that we've apparently dismissed or removed interest in is Scott McTominay. So probably some of you guys are happy about that, but it is being reported that Newcastle did in fact hold talks with Manchester United about Scott McTominay, but they want to keep him and probably don't want to sell him to a Newcastle side who are currently higher than them in the league as well. There is reports, however, that Newcastle are moving on as quickly as possible to try and find other players to bring in. The Anthony Gordon one will not go away. That is still there. It's reported Newcastle are lining up a £30 million bid for Anthony Gordon. And I know there's a lot of Newcastle fans who are really split down the middle on this guy. We'll have to wait and see. It's the fact that we were linked in the summer and the January shows that Eddie Howe must be interested in him. So all we can do is wait and see what happens next. We're also being linked with the Chelsea boys. Ziyech is the one that's now being listed quite highly. It's interesting because, yet again, would Chelsea want to sell us players or loan us players when we're doing better than they are in the league right now? Why would they want to help us? But when they've brought that many players in, there's no room in the squad. Like they've got, we talk about us having one or two players like that. Gillespie's not named in our squad because we've got too many goalies. We've got, and it's reported that Darlow will go out to Hull this January as well, so we'll wait and hear on that one. But Chelsea have got even more. So they're going to have to move players somewhere, and if we are one of the few who are interested in taking them, or even if Ziyech or Gallagher turns around and goes, I don't want to go and play in the relegation zones, Newcastle are up there, I want to go play for them. Chelsea may well get to the point when they go, okay. And I think the Chelsea ones will be, if they happen, will be very late in this window. I imagine those players will go somewhere. If it's Newcastle, I don't know, but I think they'll definitely be going somewhere. And then the other player Newcastle are being linked with is De Vrij, the Netherlands centre-back. We were linked with him in the past as well, back when before we brought in Byrne and Botman. 30 years old now, and his contract ends at the end of this season. So it's another player who is in theory available. Now, is centre-back my priority position? Probably not. We do, in theory, have Byrne who could play there if Targett was left back. We do have Lascelles. It wouldn't hurt to have another one, but I would rather concentrate on centre mids and probably wingers before we look at the centre backs. Now, in terms of lineups, let me know yours down in the comments below. Mine is pretty much the same as it always is, to be honest. Pope and goal, Trippier, Shaw, Botman, Byrne, the defence and goalkeeper who have got an outrageous record this season. We hope can continue that on tomorrow night. In terms of midfield, it was great to see that Bruno was back, and you'd imagine we'll be back again for tomorrow night's game. I thought Willock is looking really good at the moment. Willock got a bit of criticism on whether he can be a bit slow getting into games, and does he have a better second half of the season than the first? Possibly, but we're into the second half now, so hopefully he can really kick on. He brings a lot of energy. And obviously I'd go Joe Linton as well. Not to say that Longstaff hasn't been good, to be honest, but that's really the question mark around this team will be. And you'll see that I have gone Isak on the left with Wilson up front and Almiron. I get it, because Joe Linton out on the left is security, and maybe away from home against Southampton, it's the safer bet. And it depends what Eddie Howe wants to try and achieve in this game. Maybe it would be better to start Joe Linton on the left with Sean Longstaff, and then as the game goes on, try and give Isak or Maxi just that little bit more game time. And I understand where Eddie Howe's coming from in his interview as well, because if he's got a team that, yes, drew against Palace, but it was still a good game, we still had the chances, and on another day, we could have been 2-0 at half-time. But I want to try and have Isak and Wilson in this team. We've spent the money on Isak. We need to get him involved. So, yeah. Regardless, I know Eddie Howe will pick the side that he believes is best to get the result that we need, and we'll take it from there. In terms of a prediction, I'm going to go 1-0 Newcastle. I'm going to back the win. If we could get that 1-0, take it home, and as I say, lift the roof in the second leg, would be insane. The draw, I think, would be a very good result as well. You could even say that if we lost 1-0, would it be that bad? Can we bring them home and beat them 3 or 4? But in terms of what you hope to see and what I want to see, yeah, 1-0, bring it home, and we'll do the job in the second leg. Alright guys, thanks for watching as always. Drop a like and subscribe. If you are still watching all this time later, be sure to hit that big red subscribe button. It's free to do so. It really helps the channel, and it just means you guys are notified of any future videos. Fingers crossed we can get the result we hope to see tomorrow night, and fingers crossed we can get some work done in this January transfer window as well, because we are running out of time. We've got about a week left, and generally speaking, things have been a bit quiet, so I'm hoping that will change over the next few days. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Enjoy the game tomorrow night. I will have the usual pre-match chat, instant reaction, so if you're not subscribed, be sure to do so and look out for those videos. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.